Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. Welcome to Raw Talk number 159. And we have an action-packed show filled for you this week with a bunch of different things. I'm thinking next week we're going to do Fro's Favorite Things show, by the way.
Yeah, that'll be perfect.
So if you enjoy that from the year before, we've got a Fro's Favorite Things thing ready for you to go for next week.
Cool.
So that's going to be cool. We've got an interview with Bruce Bennett talking about his new book. And when I say interview, is he'll be in here live in the studio talking about hockey's greatest photos. I think I have some photos that could be a part of Hockey's Greatest Photos that should be in the book.
Best photos ever.
But no, I have that book, and he's here to talk about it. He just so happened to be in town because he is shooting the Flyers tonight, who are playing the Sharks. Mm-hmm. Joe will be there serving beer to people.
Beer here.
Can you deliver a beer to Bruce for me?
Shut up, nobody can hear you.
What do you serve, like hot dogs?
No, I work in my stand. I work at Campos Cheesesteaks.
Campos Cheesesteaks.
Nice.
So he get into the interview next.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we get ready for this interview? Bruce is going to fill this chair in just a minute to talk to us. He was on episode... Oh, geez, I got to check my notes.
I think it was like 103?
No, I got my notes. I got my notes, Steven. Hold on, let me scroll down. He was on episode... Jeez, it's at the top of my notes.
Early hundreds.
He was on the... Where's my... Bruce...
You need the bigger iPad.
Episode 106.
It was 106.
He was on episode 106.
And
where
we actually filmed him on
We filmed him.
location.
We were on the bench at the Philadelphia Flyers.
Really cool.
We were at the First Union Center, or whatever they call it.
Wells Fargo Center
now. We were on the bench pre-game before opening game last year.
So cool.
Around 4:30 in the afternoon, we were standing on the bench talking to Bruce. Awesome situation to be in. What a great interview. That was the first time he and I met. We've passed in the hallways before, but now he's on his way to talk about his new book, and let's get to the interview.
Let's do it.
Bruce, welcome to my house.
I cannot believe that I am in the FroKnowsPhoto World Headquarters.
That's true. Did you ever think you would be here?
I actually, when I got first at the door, I thought I was going to get stopped there by Joe, but I got through security.
How'd you get through Joe?
It's easy. I just bluffed him. I told him I was the UPS guy, and he let me come up.
Or you should have just said Einstein.
Well, he thought that first, and I said, no, it's Mark Twain. And then I told him UPS guy, and it worked.
Yep. So thank you for coming on again. Obviously, we spoke last year. It was episode, what did I say, Stephen? 106, I believe?
Yes,
106. Yeah, it was 106, where we were on the bench talking, and a lot has changed in the year. You now have a book.
It was a long time coming. It was shopped around for about 12 years, and finally the guys at the Hockey News, who I have a long relationship with, over 40 years actually, they said the time is right. Let's do it.
So over the last 12 years, the time wasn't right for the Hockey's Greatest Photos?
Well, I guess every day is Hockey's Greatest Photos Day, but no, I guess the climate was right. I was a new publisher at the Hockey News, and they were all on board for moving the project ahead.
So what's been the process of getting it all put together?
Well, the biggest part of the process was culling through. They started at 2 million images in the archive, but I actually went through about 600,000 to bring it down to the 250 that are in there. And that was the biggest part of the project, and that the most time-consuming as well.
That's a lot of images to go through.
Yeah, it's a lot of late nights, and the fact is a lot of this was digital imagery, about 400,000, and about 200,000 were in analog form, print, negative, slide, just a lot of material, both in the archive in Los Angeles as well as in various corners around my home in New York.
So you had to find them all.
I had to, and it was really important for me to do this career book to make sure I left no stone unturned trying to find
the best?
The best.
Well, let me ask you a question now, Bruce. I went through this book with a fine-tooth comb. I let my dad look through the book. There are not enough pictures of Flyers in there. Why are there not more pictures of the Flyers?
Well, I'm like any fan from New York. We hate the Flyers.
Yeah, who didn't know that's true.
The fact is...
funny story. Wait, funny story. I'm flipping through here. Leon Stickle game. They now have the Leon Stickle rule. For anybody who doesn't know, Leon Stickle, he blew a call against the Flyers in the Stanley Cup that cost them the Stanley Cup in 1980.
Hold a grudge. Go ahead.
We'll hold the grudge on Leon Stickle. But my dad is turning through the pages of the book and gets to the, bossy jumping? Mm-hmm. He gets it, and he goes like this to the page, and he goes, bleep you, Leon Stickle. He did. He really hates Leon Stickle.
Yeah, there's got to be a statute of limitations there. I mean, that was 1980. It was Nystrom jumping, but and it made for a great photo. So, and at that point, did I care who won? No. I even at that point, being a Long Islander, I just wanted the great photo.
Sure. No. Do you find that in the past, when you're shooting film, were you more selective shooting than now with the digital?
Oh, absolutely. Now you still have that thought pattern. Do I have time to edit through all the crap that I'm shooting? Should I lean on the motor and shoot 10 or 12 frames a second? Because at the end, you still have to go through that stuff.
Right.
In the old days, you're constantly thinking, okay, I got 36 frames. Am I getting close to 36? At what point do I pull the roll of film? Do I get ready, for the next roll of film? Is there a power play coming up? And back then, you would pull it at 30, between 30 and 33, and take your time with those last few frames, hoping you're not changing film when something happens.
Now, are you RAW plus JPEG for speed?
Well, what's the correct answer here?
How do you shoot?
It's all JPEG, dude.
Why?
Why? Because I'm just trying to piss you off, basically.
Are you seriously all JPEG?
It's all JPEG.
Is that like Reuters? You saw what they said, right?
No.
Reuters just came down and they said they don't want anybody delivering photos raw. They want the original JPEG with as minimal corrections as possible, which is just stupid that they said that. How are you not shooting raw, Bruce?
I shoot raw a couple of times a year.
What, the Stanley Cup?
Nope, not even then. Team photos. When I do team photos like New Jersey Devils or Islanders team photos, I shoot raw just because of the amount of data that is in that image.
Bruce,
I'm
Bruce,
going to get the lecture.
What would Einstein have done? What would Einstein have said? He would have said, look, E equals MC squared, therefore RAW equals better than JPEG, and I should have shot everything. Why don't you shoot in?
The industry that I am in, photojournalism, requires that images get out quickly and efficiently. RAW is great for many, many things, but in terms of my workflow and the workflow of the typical photojournalist, it is important for us between periods to be able to get out 5 or 7 images.
So I get that.
Images.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But why not do both?
For me personally, the software that we use is not conducive for downloading RAW and JPEG at the same time. It downloads, the software that we're given downloads JPEG. I'll take it under advisement. I'll bring it to the powers that be and all the other bullshit.
Bring it to the powers that be.
Basically, we produce very nice posters. Our clients, our licensees produce beautiful posters from the JPEG image. I just don't see the need in it, quite honestly.
Unbelievable.
I see a tear. I see a teardrop from your left eye.
It's dropping right now.
Okay.
3-on-3 hockey, have you been enjoying that in overtime?
During preseason, I thought it was the worst thing I've ever seen, and now I'm starting to enjoy it.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The talent level of the players that you have on the ice, the back and forth nature of it is incredible.
Yeah, it was really odd, though. The season started, and I think teams are still trying to get a feel for how is this going to work? How do we go all out, or do we lay back? And now it's just, it's gone so far as, I don't know if you saw, the NHL is going to do the All-Star game 3-on-3.
The entire game?
I don't know. I saw you know what? I breezed through the release yesterday, and I think they're doing the entire game 3-on-3, division against division. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're going to see 50 goals.
Oh, the goalies will be like the guy in Slapshot jumping around.
The hair.
Yeah.
The hair up here. The hair.
Yep.
I don't think they should do that 3-on-3. The All-Star game's not 3-on-3.
I don't either, but you know what? The All-Star game is probably the worst event that I shoot each year.
Thankfully they don't do what Major League Baseball does and say that the winner gets home field advantage.
There has to be some motivation, and I know that there's money put into the pot this year, so that'll be the motivation. All I can tell you is year after year, for me, it was nothing more than shooting stock images on each player in their All-Star uniform.
Right.
But the event was like pulling teeth. It was horrible. So hopefully, I don't care what they do. They could do 2-on-2 as long as it's more exciting than it has been in the past. I'm on board.
All right. So back to the book. How'd you get Gretzky to do the forward?
Blackmail.
You had a photo of something?
Well, it was Paulina, actually. No. Known him for a long time. Went to his tour of Europe in 1994, where we became more friendly. And at one point, he said something to me, anyone who went on my tour in 94, I'll do anything for. I was friendly with his agent back in the early days. I helped him out on some projects. I go to Wayne's Fantasy Camp every year, where I work hard at making sure all the campers get what they need. So it's just been a relationship through the years of mutual respect.
Yeah. So how's the book doing so far?
I'm thrilled. I wish it was in more bookstores in Canada. I found it on the bookshelves. Obviously, there aren't that many bookstores around anymore anyway.
Right.
But it's doing really, really well on Amazon in Canada as well as in the U.S. It's really highly rated, and the books are moving well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Is there anything that you would change now that you see the book?
Wow. Well, I can't think of any images specifically. The fact is, it was such a long process of culling through the images and cutting it down to the final 246. But still, going through the book, I look at a couple and go, I should have sharpened this a little bit more, or I should have picked a different image.
Should have shot raw.
Gonna keep throwing that in.
Maybe. Now, did you have a say in the printing, the quality, things along those lines?
No, I put my trust in the guys at the Hockey News and TVA Sports and Juniper Press and Group Ohm and all the other parties, and I don't even know how they're all related. But I had to trust that I made the right decision going with them. They're the guys who know how to publish and how to distribute, and they wouldn't tell me what made a good photo for the book, and I wouldn't pretend to know anything about the printing process.
Yeah, I love the photos of Grapes with his dog. What was the dog's name?
Blue.
With it,
Blue. Yeah. Private photo session up somewhere outside of Toronto. Very hospitable guy. Very comfortable in front of the camera.
He's
and
funny
a great
as hell.
dog. Yeah.
How are the conversations with him about sports?
It was so long ago, I don't even remember. I remember his home a little bit. I just remember him being a really gracious host, and when it was time to be shot, he was on. Immediately goes into that persona to be photographed.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So do you still love getting up every day? I mean, tell us your typical day. Well, not your typical day. Why are you actually here today?
Flyers. Still traveling down to Philadelphia from New York. For me, it's anywhere from 2 hours and 15 to 2:45. In my typical workflow, it's Islanders, Rangers, Devils, and Flyers. Through the last couple of years, Getty has gotten more staff photographers who are a little bit closer towards to Philadelphia. So I've cut down on some of the trips, but this week was just one of those oddities of Tuesday, Thursday. I've got Flyers on the schedule.
Nice. Were you down Tuesday?
I was down Tuesday, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Stephen was there.
Oh, I didn't see
I was.
you.
Joe works there.
Uh-huh.
Joe works at the stadiums.
Oh, souvenirs, refreshments?
Refreshments.
Oh, isn't that? Oh, maybe I'll go get a free pretzel from him.
Maybe you'll get one of those carb sticks. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Cheese
Excellent.
sticks.
Yeah.
Cheese
So
steaks.
you had an AMA the other day?
I did, yeah. It was kind of cool. I didn't have any idea what I was getting myself into. I did a little media tour in Toronto centered around my trip up there.
Oh, thanks for the invite that I got the night of the Toronto thing. Oh, are you in Toronto right now?
Yep. Well, you texted me something, being a wise ass, and I was like, well, if you are in town, I've got a little book party, opening book party coming up, and you said, no, I'm not there.
I did. You know what? I actually texted you a picture of my dad giving the finger to the photo.
You did, yeah. It was probably the nicest text or email I've received in the last month regarding my book.
Good.
Look, I can't help it if the text was too small for the old guy. He's probably my age, quite honestly. He's pretty close.
67.
Okay, I'm 60. And the text, I wear my glasses, and the text was fine for a guy wearing his glasses. But you know what, Toronto, coming back to the AMA, the Reddit AMA, had no idea what it was going to be. I found it enjoyable. The guys at TSN, the sports network up there, were in charge of that that whole process and helped me through it. And I just felt bad at the end of the whole thing that there were a lot of questions that fell by the wayside that I didn't answer for anyone.
Like what? What were some of the things you wanted to answer you couldn't, if you can recall it?
Well, you know what? I didn't actually. There were one or two I can't remember. I scrolled down and I said, I'd like to get to this one. And they kept telling me refresh the queue and answer the ones at the top of the queue. But I felt bad. Some of those at the bottom or the ones that just kept getting pushed to the bottom weren't answered. And as well, I said to the moderators, I said, you know, I wish I had some questions that could be the sarcastic ass that I am, because, you know, I like to have fun with the humor, and really it was pretty straightforward, most of the questions I got there.
Like, how do I become an NHL photographer?
Yeah, and, you know, the stock answer is I don't need any more competition. You know, that's the stock answer. You know, you get a lot of questions from guys who never shot hockey who want to get started. And there really is no easy way to answer that except get out there and shoot. Shoot kids, shoot industrial leagues.
Even though in USA Hockey, last year they passed a rule down, they've made us officials aware of, that nobody is to be shooting from the benches or penalty boxes unless they have certain permission. Mm-hmm. So not just a fan can't just go in the penalty box. Like I used to just show up to the rinks and go shoot pictures. Yeah. And it's not the same, especially if they're shooting kids, and they'll be like, why are you shooting pictures of kids and all this stuff.
Yeah, everyone's so defensive these days. And the problem is in a lot of the arenas you're doing your reffing in as well, I'm sure the glass is crap.
The glass is tough.
Yeah.
The lighting has gotten better, though. Mm-hmm. They've moved to a lot of better lighting. Speaking of, do most of the NHL arenas have the better lighting now?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of them, you know, I don't travel around as much as I used to, going back, you know, 2 years ago. I started doing mostly local games and traveling for the bigger events. But the arenas that I've gone to, like Philadelphia, like the Wells Fargo Center, Brooklyn, Madison Square Garden, New Jersey, a lot of these arenas have now switched to the LED lighting. There's, from what I understand, it costs them about $1 million to put the installation in, and they make their money back in 6 years in what they save.
Oh, wow.
And as well, they're helping me out because the lighting, the increase in lighting, the edge to edge, where the corners aren't darker than center ice, it's been a real boon to hockey photographers.
Do you still need to use strobes, though?
I still prefer strobes, but yet Stanley Cup Finals the last few years, even when strobes were offered to myself and my crew, I've declined because the digital cameras, and I'm a Canon guy, the 1DX and even the Mark IV before that, those cameras are so good in the available light situations. So you bring in the LED lighting and the better cameras. And the main thing is the availability to shoot 10 or 12 frames a second and capture the moment.
I was just going to say that because now you don't have to worry about the waiting a second for the cycle. Have you ever blown a strobe?
Many times. Many times. And
during a game, what happens?
What happens is you either run up to the rafters and reset the breaker on the strobe, or have an assistant run up, and usually I'm there at a lot of games by myself. If you overshoot the recycle time too many times, or the tubes are in bad shape, or the capacitors aren't up to snuff, you'll pop the breaker. And it's nothing more than going up and pushing a button, but
you got to get into the rafters.
You lose a lot of time getting up there.
It's interesting because the LED lights are super bright. They are. I mean, I'm shooting, when I was shooting with the 70 Mark II as a test, I'm probably shooting at like 2500 ISO with 1/1000th of a second at 3.2 or 3.5 just to get a little bit of extra sharpness. It's perfectly fine.
It is, but still, the difference between strobe and not strobe, when you're shooting
100 ISO,
you're shooting 100 ISO, even 200. Most of the time with the strobes I use in Philadelphia and in New Jersey now, albeit I'll be using the Pocket Wizards on hypersync, so I'll be shooting a 500th of a second or a 640th of a second.
Which you couldn't do a couple years back.
That's right. You were stuck at the 250th, but no, with this hypersync now, 640th of a second, 7.1 usually, 250 ISO.
7.1?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, you don't even have to focus.
Shot JPEG small, compressed.
anything but raw. And we're doing JPEG large. If that makes you feel any better.
Thank you.
I know
Much
it doesn't.
better.
Yeah.
Much better.
But the colors with the strobe and the ability to blow up the images and crop in, as opposed to 2500 or some of the arenas will be at 4000 ISO to freeze the action and get a little bit of depth. Still go strobe any day of the week,
Sure.
except for those events where that puck bulging the net and that peak action is needed.
Right. Do you shoot for fun?
I do. I love surfing. I love shooting surfing and dogs at the dog park, and taking the drone up for a spin and doing drone photography.
Are you doing the drone stuff now?
I am. I am. I have the Phantom 2 Vision Plus.
Well, that thing sucks. You should upgrade to the professional.
Well, actually, I
Phantom
saw
3.
it here, and I'm probably going to sneak out with it.
Yeah.
I told Joe I'd give him $20 to let me walk out the back door with it.
I think Joe would be like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. It's one of those things now, it's just fun. It's not for business purposes. It's just a diversion, something to get my head out of the hockey for a little bit.
You shoot the Westminster Dog Show?
I have not. I'm into amateur dogs, running around the dog park and playing with lenses. Every once in a while, I'll get lenses from Tamron, and I'll test their lenses out for them and tell them what I like and I don't like. They're 150 to 600 I played around with. They're 70 to 300. And I'll mess around with that at the dog park and see what the lenses are capable of.
You ever get accosted at the dog park from some woman walking her dog being like, what are you doing taking pictures of me?
Usually it's more a case of, can I have copies of that? So post some on the Facebook group for the dog parks, and with some of the people I know, I'll send them some photos. But for me, especially in the summer where I've got July and August without hockey stuff going on, a little light office work, getting ready for the following season. But July and August is the time to go out and just sit on the beach and shoot some surfers or go to the dog park and knock myself out.
Now, do you see stopping shooting hockey ever, or is this just going to be something that they'll have to cart you out?
You start to think about the number and being 60 years old and all that, but it's really it's a matter of being physically able to do it. And there's one of the mantras, for lack of a better term, in our company, and it's lead by example. And if it gets to the point where I'm no longer able to lead by example by carrying my own weight and carrying all the equipment and going up and down the stairs and all, then I'd like to think at that point I'll walk away. Right now, just as a goal, another 5 to 10 years maybe.
Man, that's a lot of hockey.
It's a lot of hockey, and there are ways to ease up a little bit. At some point, maybe I'll just edit people's hockey photos, become an editor, and I direct our hockey coverage at Getty Images. And what could be better than actually determining which images hit our website? Seems like it makes sense.
Sure. Now, Worlds are coming up, right?
Yeah, the World Cup of Hockey in September will be in Toronto.
Are the NHL players going to be involved?
Yes, they will.
That's going to be awesome again.
It's going to be great. It's like a mini Olympics.
It's better than the Olympics,
yeah.
I think.
I loved World Cups in past years and Canada Cups in the 80, 84, 87, whatever years. I shot 2 of those 3 years. I can't remember which. World Cup was great in Montreal when U.S. beat Canada. I think that was 94, but I'm not good with the years. And this will be kind of interesting. It's all in Toronto, so you take a hotel room and you're there for 2 or 3 weeks,
Wow.
and you just go to the arena each day and you shoot great hockey.
Does it get boring?
Leaving the house in the middle of December for Islanders against Florida at times is a little rough, but I equate it to the golfer and I hate golf, and I hate golfers, I think. But golfers always say, it's that one shot that brings you back the next day. And with hockey, it's the same thing. I mean, you could be in the middle of a really shitty hockey game, and all of a sudden, like, all hell breaks loose, and you get shot after shot after shot. And you could go, I'll go through a first period and go, I don't have anything to transmit that makes any sense, that doesn't tell story of the game. and you're feeling kind of depressed, and all of a sudden the coach yelled at everybody between periods, and second period, everybody's on fire.
Oh, so you like Tortorella games?
Yeah. Tortorella, Mike Keenan.
You think Keenan will ever find a spot behind the bench again?
Well, he's in Russia.
He's coaching in Russia?
He's coaching in Russia, and he's doing pretty well from what I've heard.
What's that sound like on the bench? Does he have a translator?
I don't know how he communicates and how many of those guys speak English. I heard he's doing well. I think he signed a new contract recently. And look, for Tortorella, I said, why don't they just bring if they're bringing in Keenan, why don't they just bringing in Tortorella? Why don't they just bring Keenan back and go to the master himself?
Exactly. We had Keenan here for years.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah.
With Hextall and the Broad Street well, not the Broad Street Bullies, but all the Stanley. What was his name? I don't know, the Bruise brothers.
Oh, boy.
Dave Brown and Darryl Stanley.
And Berube. Yeah.
And Berube.
The tough guys. I was with the Rangers as their team guy in '94 when they won the Stanley Cup, and Keenan was the guy there.
Yeah.
So I dealt with him pretty closely for a few years. Yeah.
Now, you run into issues ever? Coaches, players? I don't even know if I asked that last time.
Yeah, I did get chased out of a locker room by Dan. Was it Dan Maloney? Not Dave Maloney and not Don Maloney. Dan Maloney, Toronto Maple Leafs coach. And, the security guys let me walk in for the post-game press conference, and supposedly there were no photographers permitted there. And he's talking, and I shot one frame, and then I shot the second frame, and he said to the news guys, he goes, "Excuse me," and he got up and he came after me, and I ran, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm running for, I don't know what he's coming after me for, and I ran out of the locker room, and the security guy says, "Oh, you're not allowed in there." I said, "Well, why didn't you stop me at the door? Nobody told me."
Yeah.
I said I'd come to Toronto a couple of times a year. Nobody told me. But mostly, players. I've always said the hockey players are so much better than the athletes that I've dealt with in other sports.
Yeah.
They're just more down to earth. Most of them have a great sense of humor. I was spit on by Don Mattingly in the early days, and that taught me maybe I'd stick with the hockey guys.
Why do you do that?
Why do you do that? I was doing something for a trading card company that wanted players posed, and in this case, they wanted a guy with a bat and 3 poses of him taking a swing, and they'd make the card where you twisted it and you could see a guy swinging.
Sportflix.
Yeah, something like that.
Was it Sportflix?
It was Major League Graphics.
Sportflix.
I don't know what they called it.
My brother and I had Sportflix.
Okay.
So you took those pictures?
You put that shit together and somebody buys it. That's what happens. And I had a letter from the Major League Baseball Players Association, and it was very brief, and I kind of showed it to him as he was standing there, and it's not warm-ups. What do they do in baseball?
Pre-game stretching?
Pre-game crap. And I showed him a letter, and I said, I just need you in this pose. It's for Players Association. And he kind of looked at the letter, and he turned away, and he started to walk away, and he took 2 steps back and spit a wad of chewing tobacco on myself, on the letter, on my arm, on my shoe. And that was the end of that. And I said, okay, I'll stick with the hockey players.
Yeah.
Because they usually don't chew tobacco.
They'll just bleed on you.
Yeah, something like that.
They'll spit a tooth at you.
Yeah. Taught me my lesson.
I love shooting hockey. I like getting down there a couple times. Well, I got down once last year to shoot, which is still nice that I can make a phone call and they're like, "Yeah, come on down." I get to shoot a photo hole and all that stuff. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, the variety is great. During the NHL lockouts, that's really when I got involved in shooting more basketball and other things, including hurricanes, and working on the news desk for a while doing that. And the variety was good. But I know my strength, and my strength is hockey photography, and that's really what I know best, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
Now, are you working on any kind of experimentation in shooting to change it up right now?
It's weird. Late last season, I guess it was in March, all of a sudden I had a bunch of thoughts come to me of things that I hadn't done in the past, including multiple exposures. A couple of them one or two made it into the book as well.
Was it of a flyer?
No, it's never going to be of the flyers. But when you look at it and you go, wait a second, these digital cameras are capable of doing 9 frames a second on the Canon. and I started messing around with it, and I came up with some images I was really happy with. So that was last season, as well as slow motion blurs. You know, it's an old technique.
Yeah.
And came out with a couple of good images. I got a few things in mind. One of them centered around HDR, which I guess is a little bit antiquated now because you can just...
You better be shooting RAW when you do freaking HDR.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'll just do it then.
It's all going to be HDR. From today forward, all HDR.
RAW? All HDR?
Yeah, and I'm going to be picking up a few hard drives from me here on my way out so I can store all those raw images.
That's a lame excuse. That's an old, antiquated person's excuse to say that that's why you don't shoot RAW.
I'm an old, antiquated guy, so there you go.
That's not good. That's not good. I was going to say something, and then I lost my train of thought.
Distracted you.
Where can people find you on social media?
Social media. Twitter handle is Bruce_Bennett. And strangely enough, my Instagram is also Bruce_Bennett. No Snapchat or any of the other wacky... no Mercat, as I was lectured. No Periscope. We're not allowed to do that at the hockey games.
Really?
NHL has told us that is verboten. But actually, I was going to ask them recently. In fact, just this past week, I said, I'd like to do some of the Periscope of me editing a game. So just not out at the arena. It's not hockey players skating around, but I think I'll see if they'll give me an okay to do some of that.
Screw that. Don't do the Meerkat. Don't do the Periscope. Film it for YouTube. You'll get a larger audience to watch it in better quality. You can start building up your following through that thing so that you can answer more questions. You could do Bruce Bennett's weekly question and answer show or whatever, where you answer 3 to 5 or 10 questions, whatever you want to do. You could do it at the rink. You can get a lackey. You can get some kind of assistant to carry around the camera.
Steven, he's available.
Yeah. Steven's available. You can do stuff like that. I'm just giving you some ideas to keep it fun, is that you can just have some kind of intern that works for Getty film you with maybe a Canon XC10, have them get you that thing, and just pre-game, just talk. And then people can follow Bruce and do that stuff.
Actually, now that you mention it, YouTube channel is Poolside77. Poolside77.
And what can they find on there?
Basically all the interviews that I've done, including the one with you from last year.
Would you steal it from me?
Something like that. I copyright violated you.
Nice.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You stole your hair from me. Yours hasn't turned white yet.
Not yet.
And mine is a little shorter than the early days, but similar.
Yeah. So have the smaller nets this year played havoc on your shooting in the net?
Was it this year? I think it was last year.
Was it last year they made smaller?
The biggest, that was a huge problem. We did a little bit of reconfiguring the net cam to try to not make the box smaller, but kind of tuck it into the back post a little bit closer. It's even with, the lens and camera of choice is a full frame Canon with and I always forget, 15 or 16 millimeter 2.8. 15 or 16, I don't know which one.
They have a 15 fisheye.
15 fisheye, so that's the one we use in there.
Should put the 11 to 24 in there now.
The box would have to be rebuilt. It's not deep enough for it.
Yeah.
But that still is able, even with the, I think it's 6 inches less in depth that they they did with those nets. We're still able to see all the bars.
You need that.
That's the most important thing. Sometimes we'll crop in past that point, but sometimes those posts are really important to see.
Yeah. Are there any changes in the NHL that you'd like to see? Because I know they're discussing some new things.
Well, I'd like to go back to the old days where we had those, what we used to call the suicide boxes, which were the boxes at center ice with no glass in front of us.
Like you had in New Jersey all those years.
Jersey was great. Madison Square Garden for many years was great, where we were part of the penalty box area. And even in Philly, the old Spectrum, we were able to sit in the penalty box in front of the players. And those days have changed, and I understand why. Player safety and all, and trying to keep the puck in play. There are plenty of reasons. But trying to shoot this sport through a 4.5-inch by 5.5-inch hole in the corners of the arena is just, it's tough. And year after year, it seems like having photo positions and having the ability to cover the sport just gets hampered more and more. And to all the photographers' credit, these photographers, photojournalists and all, newspapers, wire services, they just become smarter and smarter at being able to capture the sport. whether it's remote cameras or picking different photo positions, creating their own photo positions. They've done a great job at continuing to document the history of the sport, even though the photo opportunities are limited.
Yeah. Well, I think we should get close to wrapping it up. Anything else you want to say about your book?
What a wonderful, wonderful Hanukkah and Christmas and Kwanzaa gift this book would be for all the boys and girls out in Froland. And Festivus. Oh, I knew I'd insult somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's out there, Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, and hopefully you'll find it in bookstores somewhere.
If you can find a bookstore, just buy the thing on Amazon or on the internet. It will get shipped to your door. You don't have to go out and get it. And if you're in Canada, it costs roughly $39.95 Canadian.
Which is like $12 US.
It's actually, yeah, it's not as... Anyway, this is I got the book. Oh, you got to sign it for me.
I shall.
Right on the Leon Stickle page.
Got to find it.
Yeah, that's you memorized that page.
I did.
Page 73.
Sorry, Flyers fan.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming out. Enjoy the game tonight. Shoot well. Shoot raw just for me tonight.
Maybe.
And that's it.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Good to be here.
Yep. Cool. So there you have it. That was our interview with Bruce Bennett. Again, his book, Hockey's Greatest Photos, just now with less Flyers photos and less Eric Lindros, is now out for you to go pick up. I love talking with Bruce. There's nothing better than talking hockey and talking with other fellow photographers, especially about this. So go ahead, pick this book up, add it to your shelf, buy it as a gift for somebody who likes hockey or just likes great photos.